we will make a quick revision about the previous lessons. In the previous lesson, we have talked about the protests. And we said, are the protests are unicellular or multicellular organisms that make their own food or eat other organisms. And the protist kingdoms contain unicellular, sorry, unicellular organisms like bacteria and archaea. And we have talked about how do you tell these tiny organisms far away? How do you keep yourself? At the beginning, protists are much larger than bacteria. And there's a generous number, maybe 100, 1,000, 1 million of bacteria cells might fit into a typical protist. So most protists are microscopic. An amoeba, for example, need microscope. And the cells of protist have a central nucleus and other membrane-bound organelles. Here we have to distinguish between plants and fungi, and the protists have simple body structures. Concentrate here, protists have simple body structure and lack specialized tissue. And here it's unlike animals. In this point, it's unlike animals. I repeat, in this point, it's unlike animals. We know animals don't make their own food by itself. It depends on other organisms. Now, on other hand, typical protists include algae or algae, amoeba, and slime molds. You can look to the fungus kingdom, yeast, molds, mildew, mold, rat smart mushrooms, molds, penicillin, corn, smart. And here, bacteria and protists, bacteria kingdom, ancient bacteria. Ancient bacteria, it's so old. Before, for example, 1 million, 2 million, 3 million years ago. True bacteria, ancient bacteria, true bacteria like root-shaped, E. coli, sphere-shaped step, and spiral-shaped lime dishes, and hot springs for bacteria. Now, algae are similar to plants. Algae are similar to plants. How? It have chlorophyll. It have chlorophyll. Have chlorophyll. Number two, make their own food. Make their own food. I repeat, similar to plants, have chlorophyll. We know the plants have chlorophyll. Make their own food. Make their own food. Like a plant. So other amoeba, similar with animals. Similar with animals. It moves from place to other place and obtain food by eating other organisms. Fungus like here, look at the chart. Fungus like protists such as slime mold. Slime mold. Look at the pictures. Break down dead organisms. Break down dead organisms to obtain food. Break down dead organisms to obtain food. But here in the plant land, algae have chlorophyll and make their own food. Now we are going to studying virus. What are viruses? The viruses is spread between living and non-living things. You have to know the viruses is bred between living and non-living things, so that they may seem alive. A part of scientists believe that the virus are not living organisms. This is the first point. A part of science believe that virus not living organism. Sorry. Now, what about classified of virus? How can we classify the virus? The virus are not classified in any of the six kingdoms. What is the reasons? Here we have to show the reasons. They don't carry out all of the basic life processes. They don't carry out all of the basic life processes. The viruses carry out only of these basic processes, only reproduction. Only carry out reproduction. Only carry out reproduction. There's many properties for basic life. Here, he only carry out reproduction. Only reproduction. We know the basic, for example, use of energy. Use of energy. Getting rid of waste. Response to the environment. Response to the environment. They can only carry out reproduction. Only one property. Be careful for this word. Okay. Now, because the virus is so small, we need microscopes. We need microscope to study them. There's a common cold is caused by virus. And we have to know some viruses are not harmful for us. And sometimes enter our body of living things and take some of its cells. And cause, and in other hand, it cause to it get sick for other person. So now we are gonna to mention some serious dishes that caused because the virus. Chickenpox, we have chickenpox and polio for kids, HIV/AIDS, sneezing and coughing. It sends cold viruses from one person to other persons. What is doing? What is doing that virus enter inside a cell? It attach itself. It attach itself to a cell. When a virus enters a cell, it takes control of cell for activities. Control of cell for activities. Controlled by the cell. Control center for the cell. And it instructs, give the instruction for the cell to produce more viruses. Give the instruction for the cell to produce more viruses, copy itself. And over time, the cells becomes filled with virus. It has a large number of virus particles. And it bursts open, then the released viruses may be large number can invade other cells. Causing infection and disease. Okay, now let's go to a video help us to understanding the lessons. Now I will ask our last question. What are viruses? We can define viruses. Viruses are tiny particles that enter the body, enter the cell of a living things. take over some of its cells and cause the organism to get sick. What are viruses? Please watch the video and concentrate.
In this video, we're going to look at what viruses are. Viruses are a type of microorganism. They are too small to be seen by the naked eye, much smaller than bacteria, and about 100 times smaller than human cells. They come in many different shapes and are present wherever there are cells to infect. In fact, viruses are the most common biological unit on Earth, outnumbering all other types combined. Viruses can infect humans, all animals, plants, and even bacteria. Viruses are very simple. They are made up of a protein coat surrounding a strand of genetic material. The genetic material can either be DNA or RNA. Sometimes a membrane called an envelope surrounds a virus particle. This envelope isn't made by the virus, but is actually stolen from the membrane of the host cell. This is a great strategy by the virus. It makes it harder for the host cell to identify the virus as foreign. As we just saw, viruses aren't made up of cells. In fact, they aren't really living. They are halfway between a living organism and a chemical. Because they aren't living, we say there are different types of virus rather than saying different species of virus. Some common types of viruses are influenza and HIV or AIDS. So if viruses aren't living, how do they cause illness? Viruses are parasites. They can only reproduce in other living cells. They enter a host cell and hijack the host's genetic machinery. They make copies of their own viral genetic material instead and produce lots more virus particles. After lots of virus particles have been made, the host cell dies and the viral particles are released to infect more cells. The released viral particles can also spread to other people. There are actually two different ways in which virus attacks the host cell, which we'll look at in more detail in this video. Viruses cause many human diseases, including colds, influenza, rabies, yellow fever, HIV or AIDS, pneumonia, bird flu, Zika, Ebola, and the cancer-causing HPV. They are just a few examples. Fortunately, the human immune system is very good at dealing with viral invaders. Sometimes our immune system will recognize the virus as an intruder and will destroy the virus before it gains entry into a cell. Even after infection begins, our immune system destroys the virus and the person recovers. Sometimes the immune system cannot destroy the virus fast enough, and the virus can cause permanent damage or death. In 1918, the Spanish flu is thought to have caused up to 50 million deaths worldwide. Scientists have developed vaccinations against lots of viruses, which have even led to the eradication of some viruses like smallpox as human hosts become immune. However, some viruses like HIV have proved impossible to develop any kind of vaccine for. Did you know that antibiotics do not work for viruses? They are only for bacterial infections. If you have a cold or flu, you shouldn't be taking antibiotics. They won't make any difference. There are some antiviral drugs that have been developed, such as the one that dramatically prolongs the life of people affected by HIV. So there we have viruses. They're incredibly simple organisms, but are extremely effective at causing infection.
If you liked the video,
Okay, thank you. Now open your book. Page 41. You can put a highlight. Protest kingdoms. Like bacteria and archaea, yeah, the protist contains unicellular organisms. Make their own food. make their own food. There's a generous numbers, 100 or 1,000 of bacteria cells. Larger than bacteria have a central nucleus unlike animals have simple body structures and lack specialized tissues. Here we have example. Algae are similar to plants. Have chlorophyll, number one, make their own food. Make their own food. The others like amoeba, they can move from place to place, similar to animals. And obtain food by eating other organisms. Here an example, slime mold. Break down the dead organism to obtain food. Here we have to answer the question, a unicellular organism without a nucleus lives in the soil and breaks down waste material. Are these archaea or bacteria? The answer is bacteria. Now write the answers. Write the answer. I will explain the answer. You can write in your copybook or put note in the book. It's a bacterium. The answer, it's a bacterium. It doesn't live in a harsh environment. It doesn't live in a harsh environment. I will repeat the answer from the beginning. It's a bacterium. It does not live in a harsh environment. I will repeat. It's a bacterium. It does not live in a harsh environment. Next question. What stops scientists from classifying plant-like protists as plants? Write the answer for these questions. Some are unicellular. Some are unicellular. And they lack specialized tissues. They lack specialized tissue. We explain here in the highlight. And have simple body structures. And have simple body structures. Here. You can note the answer here. Okay? The answer question 2 here. Simple body structure and lack specialized tissue. Now we are gonna page 42. Page 42. What are viruses? What are viruses? As we said, bridge the gap between living and non-living things. Bridge the gap Viruses cannot be classified in any of the 6 kingdoms. Pay attention. What are the reasons? They don't carry out all of the basic life processes. Only carry out reproductions. Only carry out reproduction. One property. It's so small. Virus is so small. Very small. It needs microscopes to study them. Okay. Some viruses are not harmful. Some viruses are not harmful. The common cold is caused by virus. The other virus is harmful and cause disease. Chickenpox, polio, HIV/AIDS, sneezing, and COVID. When the virus here, when the virus enter inside the cell, it takes control of the cell activities. Over time, cell becomes filled with virus particles and bursts open. The released virus can invade other cells, causing infections and disease. Quick check. Number 1, explain why viruses are not classified into any of the 6 kingdoms. It's so easy. So easy. Because they cannot answer the questions. They cannot perform all the basic life processes. They cannot perform all the basic life processes of growth. Number 1, use of energy. Number 2, getting rid of waste. And response to the environment. Response to the environment. They can only carry out reproduction. They can only carry out reproduction. They can only carry out the production. I will repeat the answer for critical thinking from the beginning. When could an infected person cause someone else to get sick? A person may become sick. Person may become sick when they come in contact with someone who is infected. I will repeat the answer for critical thinking now. A person may become sick when they come in contact with someone who is infected. Last page, revision for all lessons. Lesson review. Number 1, I will choose a student to answer the questions. Charvel, answer number 1, please.
Yes. Number 1, vocabulary.
Yeah.
Backbones are vertebrates.
Thank you. Thank you. You did well, Charvel. Thank you so much. Really, thank you. Please lower your hand now. Yasin Ahmed. Yasin Ahmed.
Yes.
Yes. Number two.
How would you classify a multicellular organism that has cell wall but no chlorophyll?
Yes, you can. You can put here. For example, you can put in the left. On the left, you can put not a plant, not
Plant.
plant, yeah, not a plant. On the
Or
right,
animal.
not an animal, yes. Okay.
Sir, it's like a mushroom. This mushroom.
Not a plant. Sorry, no chlorophyll. Here, no chlorophyll. The bottom of not a plant, not chlorophyll. Not chlorophyll. Here,
Chlorophyll.
no chlorophyll. No chlorophyll. No chlorophyll. For the animals, has cell wall. Has cell wall. Has cell.
But the animal has cell wall.
Yeah. Look to the answer.
The animal don't have
Look to the answer.
cell. The animal don't have cell wall.
How would you classify a multicellular organism that has cell walls but no chlorophyll? Has cell wall, it doesn't like animals. Finished?
No.
Okay. Now, number 3. Thank you, Yasin. Al-Yazan Bilal.
Yes.
Number 3.
A
Number
computer
3.
a computer virus is a program that takes over your computer. How is a computer virus similar to a virus that infects cells?
Yes. I will help you. I will help you the answers. You can write a virus that infects. A virus that infects. Right, please. A virus that infects cells. A virus that infects cells takes over or shouldn't right. Takes over the cell's activities. The cell's activities. Just as computer. Just as computer. Just as a computer virus. Just as a computer virus takes over the computer's activities. Takes over the computer's activities. Takes over the computer's activities. Thank you, Yazan. Number 4, Hussein Shahab. Number 4, Hussein Shahab.
Yes. Which kingdom contains some organisms that resemble plants and others that resemble animals? Archaea, protist.
B, protest, yes. B, protest. Yes, protest. Protest. B, protest. B, protest. P, protest. P, protest. P, protest. P, protest. Yes, number 5. Number 5. Marwan Waliyuddin. Marwan. Marwan.
Yes.
Number 5.
Which is classified as a vertebrate? A bird.
Bird, yes. Bird, yes. Excellent. Bird. Bird. Okay. Number 6, the last questions. Number 6, last questions. Okay. Ubada Ramzi. Ubada.
Yes, Mister.
How are, yes, number 6, please.
Yes. How are living things similar and different?
Yes. All living things are made of what?
Cells.
Cells, excellent. You can write all living things are made of cells. However, living things are also different. How? They differ in size. They differ in size, structures, and how they obtain food. They differ in size, structure, and how they obtain food. Okay?
What is the answer again?
Okay, I will repeat from the beginning. All living things are made of cells. However, living things are also different. They differ in size, structure, and how they obtain food. Thank you so much, my sons. Time's up. Thank you. Thank you so much. Please study hard.